Here is a journey almost no other crop can claim. A plant is domesticated by indigenous North Americans over thousands of years. European ships carry it east across the Atlantic, where it spends generations as an ornamental curiosity in gardens. Then, far to the east, it is transformed into one of the world's great oil crops. And finally, it sails back west across the Atlantic to the continent it came from, arriving as an improved foreign variety. The sunflower left home, was reinvented abroad, and came back changed. So today, let us follow that round trip properly. Where the sunflower actually came from, how indigenous North Americans domesticated it long before European contact, why it languished in Europe before finding its purpose, the specific historical circumstance that turned it into an oil crop, the real science of why young sunflowers track the sun, and where it is grown today. The sunflower carries the botanical name Helianthus annuus, and it belongs to the daisy family. What appears to be one enormous flower is in fact a composite head made up of many small individual florets packed together, with the outer ray florets forming what look like petals. The seeds develop from the disc florets in the center, arranged in the interlocking spiral pattern that has fascinated mathematicians and botanists for generations because of its remarkable geometric regularity. The sunflower is native to North America, and it was domesticated by indigenous peoples of the continent. Archaeological evidence indicates cultivation going back thousands of years, with domesticated sunflower remains recovered from sites in eastern North America. Indigenous farmers selected for larger heads and larger seeds, transforming a branching wild plant with many small heads into a single-stemmed plant with a large head. The seeds were used for food, ground into meal and pressed for oil, and the plant also provided dyes and had ceremonial uses in various cultures. Spanish explorers carried sunflower seeds back to Europe in the 16th century, and there the plant met an unexpected fate. It was admired, grown, illustrated in botanical works, and planted in gardens, but for a long period it was treated primarily as an ornamental and a curiosity rather than as a serious crop. Europe already had established oil sources, and the sunflower's potential was not immediately pursued. It spread eastward across the continent slowly, still mainly as a decorative plant. Its transformation happened in the Russian Empire, and historical accounts describe a specific circumstance behind it. The Russian Orthodox Church observed fasting periods during which many traditional fats were restricted, and sunflower oil, being a newcomer, was not on the restricted lists. Whatever the precise details, sunflower oil found a ready market and rapidly gained popularity. From that point, cultivation expanded enormously across the region, and the plant shifted from ornament to major agricultural commodity. Russian agriculture then did something that changed the crop permanently. Systematic selection and breeding produced varieties with dramatically higher oil content and better yields than anything that had come before. This was serious, sustained agricultural improvement over generations, and it turned the sunflower into a genuinely efficient oil seed. The varieties developed in this period became the foundation for the modern global sunflower oil industry, and Russian and later Soviet breeding programs remained influential for a very long time. Then came the return voyage. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, immigrants and seed traders brought these improved varieties to North America, where they were often known by names referencing their Russian origin. The plant arrived on its native continent as an imported, upgraded version of itself. North American farmers adopted it, and commercial sunflower production for oil and for confectionery seed expanded through the 20th century, particularly across the northern plains. The famous sun-tracking behavior deserves accuracy because it is widely misunderstood.
Young sunflower plants exhibit heliotropism, with the developing buds following the sun across the sky during the day and returning to face east overnight, driven by differential growth on opposite sides of the stem. But once the flower head matures and opens, this movement generally stops, and mature heads typically face east. So a field of blooming sunflowers is not tracking anything. It is a field of mature heads facing the sunrise, which is why they all point the same way. Published research has examined why the eastward orientation matters, finding that east-facing mature heads warm more quickly in the morning sun, and that warmer heads attract more pollinator visits. The behavior that looks poetic turns out to have a practical function. It is a good example of how a familiar natural phenomenon, repeated endlessly in popular description, becomes far more interesting once the actual mechanism and purpose are understood.
The crop today has two distinct branches. Oilseed sunflowers, with small black seeds and high oil content, are grown for pressing, and sunflower oil is one of the most widely used vegetable oils in the world. Confectionery sunflowers, with larger striped seeds, are grown for eating whole, roasted and salted in the shell, or hulled for use in baking and snacks. The two types are bred for different purposes and handled through different supply chains, despite being the same species. Today, production is concentrated in the region where the crop was transformed. According to data compiled by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, Ukraine and Russia are consistently among the world's largest producers of sunflower seed, with Argentina, Romania, Turkey, China, Bulgaria, and Hungary also producing significant quantities. Sunflower oil moves through international trade in very large volumes, and the crop remains agriculturally and economically important across the Black Sea region and beyond. So the sunflower's story is a genuine round trip, domesticated by indigenous North Americans, exported to Europe as a curiosity, reinvented in the East into an efficient oil crop, and returned to its homeland as an improved import. Few crops have taken such a circuitous route, and fewer still came back so thoroughly transformed by the journey. And through all of it, the young plants kept turning toward the light, and the mature heads kept facing the sunrise, doing something far more purposeful than the romantic version of the story ever suggested. The spiral arrangement of seeds in the head has drawn serious scientific attention for a very long time. The florets are packed in interlocking spirals, and the counts of those spirals in each direction typically correspond to consecutive numbers in the Fibonacci sequence. Mathematicians and botanists have studied this pattern extensively, and it is generally understood as an efficient packing arrangement arising from the way new florets are added at a consistent angle as the head develops, allowing the maximum number of seeds to fit in the available space. Sunflowers also have a significant relationship with beekeeping and pollination that shapes where they are grown. Large fields in bloom provide substantial forage for honeybees and other pollinators, and sunflower honey is a recognized regional product in several countries. Growers and beekeepers frequently work together, with hives placed near fields to improve seed set while producing honey, which is one of the more visible examples of agricultural systems where two industries genuinely benefit from proximity. The crop has practical uses beyond oil and snacks that are easy to overlook. After pressing, the residue left from oilseed processing becomes a protein-rich meal used widely in animal feed, which is a major secondary product of the industry. Sunflower hulls are used as fuel and bedding in some regions, and the tall stalks are sometimes used as rough fodder or returned to the soil. Very little of the plant is genuinely wasted in a well-organized production system. It is worth adding that the sunflower's ornamental history never disappeared.
Alongside the vast commercial fields grown for oil, sunflowers remain among the most widely planted garden flowers in the world, and they have been extensively bred for decorative purposes into varieties with different heights, branching habits, and colors ranging from pale cream to deep red. The plant leads a genuine double life as one of the world's major oilseed commodities and as a favorite of gardeners on every continent. The plant's relationship with soil has also drawn attention in agricultural science. Sunflowers develop deep taproots that draw water and nutrients from well below the surface, which makes them useful in rotation with shallower-rooted crops and helps them perform in drier conditions. Researchers have also studied the ability of sunflowers to take up certain substances from contaminated ground, an area of applied plant science that has generated considerable interest, though it remains a specialized use rather than a mainstream agricultural practice. Finally, it is worth noting how visible this crop is in culture as well as agriculture. The sunflower has been a subject in painting, most famously in a series of works by Vincent van Gogh, and it appears widely as a national and regional symbol, including in Ukraine, one of the world's leading producers. Few agricultural commodities are simultaneously a global industrial crop, a garden favorite, and artistic symbol, which speaks to how strongly this plant registers with people. So, tell me, which part of the sunflower's story surprised you the most? That indigenous North Americans domesticated it thousands of years ago? That it became a major oil crop only after traveling east? Or that mature sunflowers do not actually track the sun? Share it in the comments. If you enjoy carefully researched food history, like the video and subscribe for more, and the reference sources are listed in the description below. This video uses AI-generated audio and visuals for educational purposes only. It presents the documented history, botany, and cultural background of this food, and it is not medical, dietary, or professional advice.